Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews. For those people that are watching this, thank you very much and my apologies. This is hella late. The chapter for Black Clover came out on Friday. Officially comes out on Monday. It had a scanlation release on the Friday or Friday. And basically I just never got around to doing it. I wanted to do it on Friday, didn't get around to doing it. I wanted to do it yesterday, I didn't get around to doing it. I'm here today, and I didn't want to leave it till tomorrow because it is quite late. You know, I've got work tomorrow, but if I got into my working routine during the week, I just wouldn't do it, and it just drag on. So I've got 4-chapter review catch-up video to do today. I'll be splitting it in 2 parts, and I'll explain why when I'm doing the parts. But without further ado, let's get into this review. So, talking about the chapters, you've got chapter 131, 132, 133, 134. I'm going to split these into 2 parts. 131 and 132 are the conclusion of the tournament. 133, 134 is the beginning of the next arc. So 131 and 132. So to recap, the last thing we saw in chapter 130 was essentially Asta going against Langris, them going all out, and it looked like Asta had won. That was not the case, and we are told that essentially both crystals were destroyed at the same time. So although Asta was not harmed technically by the move, Mimosa could not protect the actual crystal enough for it to be protected entirely, and it got destroyed. Essentially, both destroyed at the same time. It is a draw. Both of them are down. So, what happens next? We get to see the rest of the matches. We see Luke versus Leal, which to be fair was a bit anticlimactic, because what that really was, if you think about it, is they both learned something from previous matches that they didn't know, and they implemented it, ironically or coincidentally, whichever way you want to look at it. It essentially was a rehash of what happened in round 1 for Asta's crew versus whoever they were fighting. So, the enemy for Asta's crew is essentially Luke now, and Zora is essentially Lil Balmalti or Little Balmalti, and essentially they've reenacted those roles, but Lil Balmalti's done it more face on, whereas Zax or Zora did it on the sly. To explain, basically Luke combined their attacks much like the previous enemy did. They had more of a gun. This is more of a kind of a crossbow, I guess, using the lightning, and you kept getting, you know, in this chapter, oh, you're not going to be able to defend this, you're not going to be able to take this, it's too fast, it's too powerful. So Leo goes, okay, cool, I won't take it then, I'll send it back to you. So it was kind of a cheap ending, but essentially it was a rehash of that that previous kind of chapter. So anything that Zax can do or Zora can do, essentially Leo Balmalti has a similar kind of thing, just in a different way. Ultimately, different magics, you can do a similar kind of effect using different methods, is kind of the message here. So that was that. And then we get to see the match between Team Uno with Noella and Mushroom Boy versus this other team that didn't really get much spotlight, and we don't really see him properly. It's done, dusted, out of the way. Essentially, he defeats them. Everyone's shocked, like, what the hell was that? What did you do? And then that's pretty much the ending of that chapter, and we kind of have a climax saying that because that was a draw, both of them are down, both of them can't continue, meaning Asta and Langris's team, this is the final. So Lil Balmalte or Little Balmalti versus Uno. Let's talk about the chapter. Again, it was kind of anticlimactic, and I think there's reasons behind this. Essentially becomes an all and out battle between Lil Balmalti and Uno. Whatever Uno does, Lil Balmalti, being more experienced, essentially cancels it and sails it away. This forces Uno to talk through, you know, after my training in the volcano, I learned to control mana a lot better. I learned to have mana skin a lot better. I learned a new move. I did it further now. I can now do, and then he kind of becomes a Power Ranger, and his Megazord is there, and it's him basically fusing. It's like a fusion heart between him and his spirit, you know, the Sylph, which is cool as hell. But there's things to look at this. When you look at it, it's kind of half. which leads me to believe it's an incomplete version. So I think as he develops, it'll become more full and maybe a lot more powerful, a lot more kind of grander, and he may be able to do more things. But Multi just goes crazy and then essentially gets too excited and he destroys his own crystal, and that leads him to be the winner. So that being said, what did we learn? Yeah, you know he's a champion. We've got that. He's the talented one. He's come up with this new funky technique. Even the Sorcerer Emperor was surprised. He didn't do the geeky thing. The geeky thing when his eyes are like, oh my god, cool magic. And he's like, you surprised me with your growth. You've got this far. This is what you thought of. I like that there was that difference there. So he's kind of, I guess, seen in a brighter light. He's appreciated for this thing he's discovered. The way he was, the Sorcerer Emperor was kind of responding to it, I don't think it's the first time we've seen it. It just came across that way. That being said, what did this truly reveal to us as an audience about this? You know, where are Asta, where are Yuno? Essentially what it means is Asta is kind of there and thereabouts, vice captainish level. And you're probably thinking, no, that attack's OP, but the attack's only OP within 2 attempts at the moment. It's going to get better, of course, and that's what the author's telling us. At the same time, he had to have help to get himself in the best position to do the actual attack. He had to kind of wait and then go do this attack. In a real life battle, you're not always going to be presented with that kind of opportunity. So that's the first thing to take away from that. So he's there or thereabouts, vice captainish level. He isn't the strongest, comparable to the strongest vice captain which we've seen with Langris, because he didn't out and out beat him. He needed help, but his move is powerful enough to take him out regardless of how powerful the vice captain is. So in a given situation, on his day, he probably can defeat vice captains left, right, and center. So that's the first thing. You know, a similar kind of thing. So here's the thing now. Yuno was putting in work against this captain. Lil Balmalti was trying, but Lil Balmalti got a bit excited. The more excited he gets, the more powerful he gets. He got so powerful that his own crystal got destroyed. So if you think about their victories, they're both hollow in their own ways. Yes, Yuno did more work because he was able to fight one-on-one better, but the rules essentially meant that he won because of a crystal thing. He didn't really defeat Neil Balmalti. And on the flip side, Asta, yes, he defeated Langris, but he had help, and the actual whole match didn't really mean much because it was a draw. But that's the difference. He didn't really defeat him he defeated him by default. He defeated him by actions. He had help. He didn't have help. So in a sense, they're both hollow battles, which essentially is telling us that both need work to get to where they need to be. It seems Yuno's a little bit further with this new drive, but we don't know what's going to happen next, so keep that in mind. So that is pretty much those 2 chapters. Let's move on to 133 and 133. So the new arc, they're going to go in after these terrorist group, bad people. That's what we're led to believe, the bad people. I am under the impression that there's more to the story than meets the eye, and we may begin to start seeing more of that coming up. I mean, we saw bits of it in chapter 134, but I'll talk about that when I'm doing that part. Let's talk about 133. Now, there's quite a lot that happens in 133. The main thing I want to talk about is the big thing for me, which was the whole thing with Zora. But I'm going to do it based on the kind of order you see it in the chapter. So the first part I liked was the fact that essentially the Sorcerer Emperor, the Magic King, knew who he was the whole time. He just allowed it to carry on. He let him carry on with whatever facade he wanted to. And this was evident because he goes, look, yeah, I know you're not who you say you are, but you are a kind of a magic knight, so it's fine what you did. I'll let it go. And the fact that he said that was ultimately like, he knows you're a magic knight, he knows you're with an order, but he didn't know who you was. It's kind of like it wouldn't make sense for that to be the case. Sorry, I'm just getting off the cough yet. But anyway, so he knew who he was. He calls out a name. He calls him by his name. It's also the surname of his father, and he goes, you remind me of this person. And he was a commoner, but he was a true embodiment of what a knight should be. And a star system was created. This is not going so well for people like him. Zora basically goes, oh, I don't know who you're talking about. I'm just some super mage who happened to be passing by. Bye! And he goes, but before he goes, he says something to him. He goes, shouldn't you wear your magic robes, you know, the order you're from? And he doesn't acknowledge it, and he goes, and we see a flashback. And this conversation, I thought it was who it was revealed to be purely because of the way it was said. I'm glad I was proven right. I'll touch on that in a moment. But all we see is a flashback where him sat down and someone saying to him, Zora, is you seem like an interesting guy. All my crew wear this. You don't have to wear it if you don't want to. Throw it away. But if you feel like wearing it, you're welcome to do so. And then Zora leaves and whatever have you. Then we get to see like back in the Black Bull's kind of dungeon or house or headquarters, that everyone's catching up like, yeah, I'm going to be there, yeah, we're going to go to the finals. And, you know, Novella's obviously thinking she's going to be in the finals because her team won, but it was mostly Yuno's kind of thing. Although they did help keep other people out of it. That being said, we get a lovely interruption by Meliliona. The most... I love their interaction. So Meliliona and Yami's interaction is like the best thing ever. So Yami is like the manly man, thugonomic, super strong dude, right? every lady loves him, but Meliliona, she's like, you little punk, get out. And she beats his ass, but Yami doesn't really do anything. I think it's a respect thing, or he knows how strong she is, or something like that. Maybe she's out of his league at the moment. But we've been told that she's beyond captain level. What I liked about it is their reaction, because like there's a part where Yami's like, evacuate the building, there's a wild animal that's broken in, it's let loose. And at that part I just found funny. She gives him this beer and he's like, you people take this, I don't want it, I'll probably die. And the thing I liked about that was it was from Fuego. The mentioning of Fuego was always a cool thing, because from what we saw of him last, him being like essentially in a hospital, and before that being on the floor because he got jumped, it's always good to hear his name. Hopefully he'll be back soon, stronger than ever. And then essentially Luke, Asta and Novella get taken. So there's that. There's a little mention in there that, you know, there's supposed to be one more, and Magnus like, me, yeah, not you. And then they go. So we're given again a clue here about this, and I was like, oh, brilliant, it's going to be him. This proves it's going to be him. Unless it's somebody else we don't know. Is it the vice captain? I've been banging on about this vice captain for ages, and we haven't seen him yet. And then right at the end of the chapter, they've all met up, kind of, and then there's a shadow, and he goes, sorry, I'm late. And then Meliliona does an attack, and he cancels it out. And it's Zora, and he's in his Black Bull's costume. So it turns out the flashback was Yami yet again proving the guy is a super stud and he knows talent. So he found Asta, who's proven to be somewhat special, Novella, who's proven to be somewhat special, Luke, who's somewhat special. Magnus Swing could be potentially somewhat special, we don't really know, and we haven't seen much of the rest of them. I mean, you know, that's like anything else really. As time goes on, we'll see how special they really are. But you can see he's picking up all these misfits that are becoming really powerful, have all this talent that other captains don't see. Even speaking of Fuego from earlier on, Fuego Leon earlier on in the chapters in the Invasion Act specifically states that he's got these bad eyes that can see this talent, because even he couldn't see the talent that was in Asta. So I like the fact that that happened. Moving on to chapter 134 though. This was like, what? I'll explain. So the first part I found was the most important. The second part, the third ending, was interesting, and I got excited for some other reasons. But anyway, it's a story that's in a dream. Laya apparently is waking up. It's his point of view, and he's in Elfland, and he runs to a meeting that they're kind of like telling him off for being late, and he can't get up on time. And we see that Licht is an elf, right? And there's a girl that likes him, but there's a human princess that he's going to marry, and she's going to be the parent to Light's child, who's going to be the bridge between humans and elves. Hold on to that thought. And then Light later on, Laya wakes up and he has tears in his eyes, and he says the time for awakening will be soon. It'll be time to wake up, depending on translation. Then, so when you think of that, before I go into the story, I was going to kind of go into it, but I just kind of had a thought. When you think of that, the one thing all three members of the Third Eye had in common was memories. The only one we've had proven to be false or implanted was the Fana, the hit, as she was supposed to be dead, and they did some experiment on her, and she had this ability with the salamander. Now, we had the whole thing with Vet the Despair, who released his third eye and just had some monstrous power, and he had this thing where he was giving away his sister. Now, the thing with this part, if you think about that, thinking back to that part of the story, Vet said he gave away his sister. Was that princess? Was he a prince? Was he from noble blood? Or was it that the other girl that was with them that liked him? Which one is it? We don't know. Or is this an implanted memory? We don't know. So there is that needs clarifying. And then you got this whole liar thing. Now, what I think is key, more than liar being there and there's been elves and the human, is the part about the child. I think the child is probably the most important thing, and that's essentially what's going to drive everything else. Light being different there as well, with pointy ears. I don't even remember. I actually looked at a picture of Light recently, but did he have pointy ears? Could you tell me in the comment section below if you did? I hadn't actually checked because the video is long enough as it is. So yeah, I mean, is the child that appears to be, that says he's liked, actually not liked, but just a person that's got his memories? Is this the child's doing? Is the child like kind of in a stasis of sleep because of that tablet? Are they in a different dimension and the only thing you can do is control people psychically? Because we have this whole thing with Langris, and we have this whole thing with the leader of the Purple Orca, where he doesn't remember doing it, but he was running away because he's a corrupt individual. But then we found out that he did do some stuff. So I think there's definitely something there, but because this section is, the video is actually getting quite long, let's cut through the main important things about the second part. So we had this rival proclamation, which in fairness is, you know, there's still a rival proclamation, you know, although they've established more powers, it looks like Yuna's breaking away. They're still saying, you know, I'm the big king, basically. The whole thing was cool because, again, it's like that joke with Asta, oh, we run out of material, you can just have that. He doesn't really need it because he's anti-magic, so it was kind of just a funny thing to put in there. What's interesting is the three characters that are introduced will also be there. A lot of the main people that were in the finals are there, so that's fine. We introduced the three characters that are important. Sirium Taeum, I've butchered his name. He's basically the character that's in the Golden Dawn. He's a rock-based magic user, but what's important about him in this instance is the fact that he's actually kind of a person that can sense mana from loads of different areas. So he's probably going to be able to locate, like a radar, where people are coming from, where they're going, and what's going on. So that part I think is important. Now, the second character with the curly hair, they call him Kobo, I think one of his names was, or Porto Pure. Again, butchering names, but the reason why he was picked is because he's the only other known spatial user. So the three people that I knew of was this character, because we got told that in the actual tournament, plus the brothers Langris and Fandril. They're both taken out, so he's the only one that can. And you know, getting people about quickly, getting them out of dangerous situations, getting people in to help out, and getting into the next part is essentially important for someone like that to have ability. Then the last person is Nozel, who was asked by the king to help out. I believe, and this might just be a stretch here, that princess that we saw earlier on was originally a Silver, or one of the royal family members, or like a million. And I believe that the king is sending him there, knowing the history of between the elves and their family, knowing what potentially could happen, and maybe trying to kind of destroy that information, destroy that proof, destroy that history. Or Nozel is using that as an excuse, and he wants revenge for the people that her Fuego Leon. That's that. There's the last piece that I got really excited about for different reasons, and I'll explain that as well. We get told that the location of the Midnight Eye, or the Third Eye's location, Third Eye is the sect of the Midnight Eye. They probably have a different name. I'm always getting their name wrong, but I'm going to stick with Midnight Eye. But anyway, it's like a floating dungeon, and it's got all these rocks and kind of things around it. Is this going to be the place? I know I said this last time with the water dungeon thing, and I was wrong about that one. But is this going to be the place where we're going to see another elemental? Are we going to see the gnome elemental here, the earth elemental character? It remains to be seen. It's something to get excited about. There's so many things, possibilities and things out there. But hope this has been informative. It's definitely been long. Hope you've watched it to the end, and hopefully it's triggered some stuff. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Peace!